Hey everyone, welcome to the Hey Hannah podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maya Fields, but to my friends and those who know me well, I'm just Maya. I'm a higher education administrator, a mother, and a wife of 14 amazing years. But above all, I'm a Christ follower. This podcast is a special platform created to honor the memory of my beloved daughter, Hannah. It's here that I have the chance to have the conversations that I never got to have with her, to share the wisdom and love I wish I could have passed on. It's a reminder to cherish the precious moments we're given and a testament to the power of healing, hope, and personal growth. If you're someone who's seeking personal growth, inspiration, and practical advice to build a solid foundation for a successful and fulfilling life, this is a place for you. Join me as we honor Hannah's memory together. Laugh, cry, and learn. Get ready for a podcast that is so much more than you could ever imagine. The Hey Hannah podcast, healing hearts, one conversation at a time. Parenting is the only job we step into with zero training and the highest stakes imaginable. Today, we're unpacking a book that's stretching me to parent with more grace, more science, and way less drama. Hey friends, welcome back to the Hey Hannah podcast, where we talk about faith, grief, parenting, and everything in between. Quick reminder, please follow, review, and share our podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcast from, so you can help us grow. Our theme verse for today, I think this is just going to kind of help us shape our conversation, is James 1:19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Or some versions say slow to anger. But I want to use this verse just to kind of frame our mindset for our conversation that we're jumping into, which is parenting. You know, I just finished the book, No Drama Discipline. I've talked about it a few times before, but I just finished the book. It's by Dr. Siegel and Dr. Bryson, I'm sorry. And whew, I am convicted. You know, Haven is 8, my oldest, Hendrix is 6. And some days I can list everything that I don't want to do, but freeze on what I should do when things are about to explode. And it's just kind of like, you know, I'm out of resources. I don't want to be the yelling parent or the punishment all the time parent, but sometimes I feel like I don't necessarily have the tools to pull out. Okay, I don't want to do those things, but what can I do in place of that? This book hands us the how, and that's why I'm really so excited about sharing it with you, and I'm glad that I found the resource. So, just a quick brief deal about, you know, why this book. There's so many parenting books out there. If you interact with any child, whether you're a parent, an aunt, a coach, a children's church volunteer, I believe this book is for you. The authors remind us, don't be so arrogant to believe we know it all. Invest in getting better. You know, that's a theme that is a common thread throughout the book. And the reason that I say that the book is for everyone is because I feel it helps us to understand our little people a little bit better. You know, we see people parenting like live and in living color all the time, whether it's the grocery store, the park, they're crossing the street, whatever it is. And sometimes we may see behavior with another child. It's like, oh my goodness, you know, what's going on or why are they doing those things? But I believe this book helps us all to understand kind of what their little brains are going through in those particular moments, and it helps us to give more grace to others who are interacting with children. And if you do have any interaction with children, it helps us to interact with them better. Just a quick little bio deal about who the authors are. So I said Dr. Siegel and Dr. Bryson are both the expert. Now, Dr. Siegel is a medical doctor, psychiatrist, neuropsychological researcher. So he brings his perspective to the book. And then we have Dr. Bryson, who is a parenting expert and psychotherapist, and she brings her perspective to the book. So, you know, we're catching it from both ends, really getting an explanation of how children think, how they experience things. And together they turn brain science into kitchen table strategies, which is very helpful. So, one of the things in the book that really stuck out to me is they started off by getting a baseline, just a clear foundation approach of what discipline is. And if you take some time to think, you hear the word discipline, some things automatically come to mind. And we've kind of gotten away. I don't know why. I don't know what can we can specifically attribute it to, but we've gotten away from the original intent or definition of the word discipline. And it becomes kind of more of a discipline is do something, punish, or, figure out something to do with the situation is kind of where we'll pop things to with discipline. But the actual book definition of discipline is teaching, not punishment. And I love that they started here because you'll hear a verse thrown out all the time when you're really thinking about parenting and children. And the verse that's thrown out a lot is spare the rod, spoil the child, when people are talking about ways to discipline. And I always like to remind people that the rod was actually, if we're thinking about the context of that verse, the rod was like a shepherd's staff, and you use the rod to kind of pull the sheep back in or get them, if they're kind of getting out of the boundary, the rod was there to guide them, to teach them kind of the way or where to go. So when we're talking about spare the rod, spoil the child, that's the rod that they're referring to, not any other type of rod that you may want to incorporate with your discipline. But I love that they started the book there with, hey, let's get a baseline definition of discipline, and that is teaching. There are three pillars of the book that they talk about throughout. One of the first ones is preserve the relationship, and they really emphasize connection first. I had a parenting expert on here maybe a year or so ago. And I remember when she gave her piece of advice at the end of the show, she said, the answer is almost always connection. And that was a common theme throughout this book. Try to connect, try to connect, try to connect. The second pillar was build skills, help kids learn what to do next time. They're not going to always get it right. We as adults don't always get it right. But part of our job as parents is to help them learn how to do things better or how to get it right the next time. And the third pillar is respect brain development. Teach at their level, not at our levels. I know when we are tired or it's kind of the end of the day or we have a lot of other stressors going on, it's hard to remember that our children's brains are not at the same developmental level as our brains are as adults. So we want to be intentional about teaching at their level and not at our level. That sounds a lot like discipleship, right? Guiding, not necessarily shaming, but helping to teaching at a level where the individual is and helping them to get it right for the next time. So, there's a lot of talk in the book about the upstairs and the downstairs brain. And I don't want to give it all away, but this is one of the big points in the book. And an illustration that was given was picture your house. Downstairs is basic survival. So that's like your big emotions, fight or flight or freeze. And then upstairs brain is the logic. That's where the empathy and the problem solving is really coming into place. Young kids upstairs floor is still under construction. You can think of that as like a construction zone sign there or yellow tape, whatever it is. But young kids, their upstairs brain is still developing. So when Hendrix tells me, and I ask him why does he do something, and he says, I don't know, it's probably true. He really doesn't know because his upstairs brain is still under construction. So a lot of times we ask our kids, why did you do that? Or, what were you doing? And they say they don't know. It's not really a cop out. They probably really just do not know. But discipline fails if we demand those upstairs brain responses from a child that's still stuck downstairs. So this is kind of helping us use our adult logic to understand, how can I help my child to do better? How can I help them to make better choices or do better the next time? Having this perspective really helps you frame how you're going to connect with and converse with your child about what's going on. And one of the examples that I absolutely loved in the book, because this kind of hit home, is there was a parent in there talking with I think it was Dr. Bryson, and he was saying, I know my child knows how to be better or act in these situations because I've seen them do it before. But she gives this example. She says, have you ever behaved in a way maybe that you're not as proud of in a situation that you've been in before? And the parent kind of understood where the line of questioning was going. Even though we have behaved well or performed to our best ability in certain situations, doesn't mean that that's how it's always going to come out. Maybe we have been in an interaction where we're hungry or we're stressed. There's so many other factors that are going on, and we have not been at our best. We've lived better before, but context matters. And that same thing needs to be in mind. You need to keep in mind, for your child. So maybe you're like, I know they've been able to sit here for 30 minutes while I do a Zoom call before, and they were absolutely fine. So why are they going nuts today? Context matters. As a parent, as an adult, we want to keep those things in mind. So as I mentioned, the signature strategy throughout was really about connection. And you want to connect and redirect. So, a good way to connect, get on their eye level, soften your tone, empathize when you can. I see you're frustrated because the Lego tower fell. Let them know that you feel where they're coming from. Touch or physical closeness, if it's welcomed, and your child, the situation that you're in. But if it's welcome, maybe a hug or something to show like, yes, I not only do I empathize with you, but I'm making that connection. And then you want to redirect, but this is only after you connect. And sometimes you're not able to connect the first time, but you want to specifically go for that connection. And then you want to guide some choices, maybe set some boundaries or brainstorm some solutions together. Maybe one of those is, hey, let's rebuild the tower together. Where should we start? And I know this is just the smallest examples. You're probably like, when stuff really hits the fan, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And that's why I encourage you to really dig into the book. But this is just a small example to show you how that connect and redirect works. So why does it work? Connection calms the downstairs brain, as we talked about a minute ago, reopening that upstairs brain that's under development. That's where our reasoning and everything is coming from. So if your child is stuck in downstairs brain mode because things are hitting the fan, we want to make sure that we give them a chance to calm down, and connection gives us a minute to do that. So we can reopen that upstairs brain that's still under development, but we reopen that portion to help us get to that reasoning point again, so we can make some better choices. Um, the book also helps you with building trust, because kids learn self regulation by being co regulated first. So it gives us some opportunities to do that. And, learning self regulation as early as possible is such a huge benefit, not only to children, but just people in general. So, just a few rapid fire tactics that I'll give you that were in the book. The first thing I'll say is, you want to name it to tame it. Make sure you figure out how to label the emotions that your children are experiencing. Calm voice, slower pace. That's something we want to aim for. When you really feel things escalating, aim for that calm voice and slowing the pace down if you have the ability to do so. Wait and revisit big issues once everyone is regulated. Sometimes if it's a really big issue, like it's WWF going on in your house and you feel like you're the referee trying to pull them apart, that may not be the time to try to settle the big issue at that moment. It's okay to table it, wait and revisit the big issues later once everyone's had some time to kind of calm down and be regulated. And natural consequences are greater than random punishment. So those are some things to talk through as well. And then the book obviously dives more into those natural consequences. Well, we don't necessarily always have to try to hand out some form of punishment, because the natural consequence is just going to take care of itself anyway. So you want to aim for grace over shame. Never underestimate the power of an apology. Please don't be too proud to apologize to your child if you feel like you got it wrong. Some things that you can say is maybe, I snapped, I got angry, and I shouldn't have gotten that angry. I'm sorry, let's try this again. That kind of helps to, I guess, disarm in a way. Think about it as an adult. If someone were to come to you and just be accountable, it would even help to disarm you and kind of help reset things. Be creative with your discipline or teaching that you're giving to your children. There's some redirection ideas, maybe drawing your feelings, maybe a movement break or a dance break just to kind of calm down and let's do a reset here. Maybe some do-overs. I love a good do-over. It's kind of one of those rules of the playground that you set as a kid. Things didn't go quite right and you got to implement the do-over. We can still use the do-over. The do-over is not gone. So sometimes you just need a do-over or maybe a humor reset, maybe a joke or whatever it is, a funny tone of voice, just to kind of lighten things up and help us do a pivot. I now ask myself as I am going through these things, is my goal punishment or teaching? And obviously, it's teaching. And if your goal too is teaching, there's usually a kinder, more effective path. And that's what we want to aim for. So I plan to revisit this book at every developmental leap because 8-year old Haven won't be 12-year-old Haven. That's two totally different people. And I feel like revisiting these ideas helps me to remain intentional about how I parent. So, my big challenge for you is to pick one incident that would normally spark drama. Normally that incident would make things hit the fan in your house. And I want you to aim just one time to pause, connect, and redirect. And when you get some time, journal what changed. How were things different because you paused, you connected, and then you redirected. And then what I want you to do is DM or tag me at Hey Hannah Podcast with your stories. And I'll highlight a few of these victories throughout our time together because I want us all to be encouraged as we are intentional about being the best parents that we can be. My last little bit of encouragement for you, I'll just close with a quick prayer. Lord, help us parent like you shepherd us, full of truth and grace. Give us eyes to see our children's unfinished brains as works in progress, not personal attacks. Amen. Thank you all for taking the time to be with me. I hope that this episode encouraged you. Again, the name of the book that we went over was No Drama Discipline. I will put the link to the book in the notes. Remember, you are loved, chosen, and called. Keep showing up, connection first, and drama last. Until next time, everybody, take care. Then that's it. I'm out of here. So much for joining us on this episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We hope that you found inspiration, insight, and encouragement in our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and review the Hey Hannah podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread our message of love and wisdom. You can also follow us on social media at Hey Hannah Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay updated on all the latest episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and engaging content. And for those of you who prefer the visual experience, Catch the video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search Hey Hannah Podcast and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. For even more Hey Hannah goodness, visit our website at www.heyhannahpodcast.com. There you'll find updates, bonus content, and join a community that embraces you with open arms. Your continued support truly means the world to us. Together, let's spread love, share wisdom, and honor every precious moment. Because here at Hey Hannah, we believe that life is meant to be lived well. Remember, a new episode of the Hey Hannah Podcast is released every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and be sure to tune in. Thank you again for being a part of Hannah's Hive. Until next time, take care.
Entertainment. Entertainment.